slash Water Pollution Control Authority public hearing on a proposed water rate schedule for June 15th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. being conducted in the council chambers and Skype for Business. Pursuant to State of Connecticut Executive Order Number 7B, Protection of Public Health and Safety during COVID-19 Pandemic and Response, further suspension or modification of statutes dated March 14, 2020, suspending in-person open meeting requirements. All public meetings will be closed to the public at this time. Public meetings will be televised in real time on Groton Municipal Television Channel 2 and online. Water rate increase questions and comments may be submitted to Director's Office at grotonutilities.com before noon on June 15, 2020. Please include your name and property address on all emails. So with that, I will call the public hearing to order. And the statements, the second item on the agenda is statements of notice of public hearing published May 29, 2020 and June 8, 2020 in the Day of New London. I will read part of the notice. The first part of the notice is City of Groton Utility Commissioners Notice of Public Hearing. Notice is hereby given that the City of Groton Utilities Commissioners will hold a public hearing on Monday, June 15th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. prevailing time on proposed revisions to the existing water rate schedule. Pursuant to State of Connecticut Executive Order Number 7B, Protection of Public Health and Safety during COVID-19 Pandemic and Response, further suspension or modification of statutes dated March 14, 2020, suspending in-person open meeting requirements. All public meetings will be closed to the public at this time. Public meetings will be televised in real time on Groton Municipal Television, Channel 2 and online. Water rate increase questions and comments may be submitted to Director's Office at grotonutilities.com before noon on June 15, 2020. Please include your name and property address on all emails. At this hearing, all consumers of water, property owners serviced by the Water Division, City of Groton, Department of Utilities, and other interested persons' written communication relative to the above will be read and considered. The dollar amounts of such proposed increases to the existing rate schedule are set forth below. Copies of the complete text of the proposed rate schedule are on file at the offices of the Director of Utilities and the City Clerk at the City of Groton Municipal Building, 295 Meridian Street, Groton, Connecticut, and are available for public inspection. And there's a rate schedule for all water service located in the Groton and Eastern Division service territory. There's a monthly rate service charge, then there's a monthly consumption charge, and then there's a hydrant and fire sprinkler annual charges. So that's the main thing in this public hearing, in the public notice. Okay, and with that, the next item on the agenda is a summary of the rationale for proposed water rate schedule presented by Mark Beauchamp of Utility Financial Solutions. Director, do you have anything to say before we get into the presentation?
We've had Mark Beauchamp from UFS present to us before, and quite a few times. I'll take it upon himself to introduce himself to the public at this time. He's well known by the commission already. So with that, I'll pass it to Mark.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm Mark Beauchamp, President of Utility Financial Solutions, and we specialize in electric, water, wastewater, gas, and telecommunication service studies throughout the United States. And what I'm here to present is the results of the water cost of service and financial projection. Can you go to the next slide? The area that I'm going to be reviewing is the financial projections. And what you're going to see is there's three key financial targets that we look at. And one is debt coverage ratio. The other one is minimum cash. You want to make sure we have adequate cash reserves. And target operating income, which is kind of the ideal target that we try to move utilities toward. The main thing that's driving our recommendations is the capital improvement program that is planned for the water utility. Once I'm through the financial projections, I'm going to review the cost of service results. The cost of service study shows how much it costs to provide service to each type of customer. In this case, it's by meter size. And also, it identifies what that fixed monthly customer charge should be based upon the size of the meter. Then I'm going to review the proposed rate designs and the impacts on customers. So if you want to go to the next slide. These are the key assumptions we use in the development of the financial model. One is the inflation rate of 2.5%. We assumed a zero growth rate, and then certain debt issuances to fund the capital improvement program. In 2021, we have a capital plan projected at $56.7 million, and the funding on that capital plan is about $1.25 million will be cash funded, $40.5 million bonded through debt, and $15 million is anticipated to be through grant funding. And of course, that's the key financial improvement that's driving our recommendations. So if you want to go to the next slide. As I mentioned earlier, there's three key financial targets we look at. One on the right-hand side is debt coverage ratio. And we try to target about a 1.4 coverage, but these are not revenue bonds. They're general obligation bonds. Actually, it's through the state, and they don't come with bond covenants. So that's not driving an area that's driving any of our recommendations. Although we do like to at least see it above a 1.0, even if there isn't specific bond covenants. The second one is cash reserves. And if you look in the middle of the table, it says projected cash balances starting at about 6.49 million. And each year, even with the rate adjustments we have, you can see it's declining. The recommended cash reserves is between 5 and 6 million. The third target we look at is the target operating income, which is about $2.8 million. The adjusted operating income in 2021 is projected at about $634,000. And with the proposed rate adjustments, you can see that's increasing each year. And in 2025, be about 1.3 million. Now, because of the size of the bond issuance, we're trying to prevent substantial rate increases on customers in any given year. So we're trying to phase these rate adjustments in over time. So you can see in our recommendations, we're proposing a 4% rate increase each year for probably the next 3 years. After that point, we'll look at that again and be looked at. And the cash reserves under this scenario, just to be aware, we're trying to balance the impacts on customers with the financial stability of the utility. We felt that the 4% rate adjustments, even though the cash reserves are slightly below the recommended minimum, we still have if any major catastrophic event were to occur, there's other funds available in the utility through the electric and to help support the water fund if something, like I said, catastrophic occurred. And the cash reserves are not at a critical level. They're at the end of the projection period, they're about 4.4 million. The recommended minimum is about 6.4. When we extend this projection out in future years, the cash reserves start to reverse and actually start getting closer and closer to that recommended minimum. So we're trying to balance the impacts on customers with the financial stability of the utility. And we felt that this was a good balance to try to support and fund that major capital improvement. So if you want to go to the next slide. One of the things that we look at is the minimum cash reserves. And down at the bottom, you see the minimum cash reserves, about 6.5 million in 2021. And it adjusts each year depending on certain factors, but it's between about $4.5 and $5.5 million. Now, the way what we look at is we look at your working capital leg, which is the timing difference between, if you go back to the minimum cash reserve slide. There we go. There we go. I think you have to put it on slideshow. Go back one more. There we go. That the operation and maintenance is we look at the working capital leg, which is the timing difference between when you pay bills and get money from customers. And historically, that's about a 45-day working capital leg. And 45 days divided by 365 days in a year is at 12.3%. And you have a little less than $11 million in operation and maintenance expense, and that's multiplied by that 12.3% to arrive at that 1.3 million. We also look at your investment in assets or infrastructure. You have about $124 million in assets in the water department. And so what we're doing here is we're recognizing that catastrophic events occur periodically, and we want to make sure that there's funds set aside to support or to fund a catastrophic event. So we take 1% of that 124 million. Then we look at your current debt service payment, and we take your highest debt service payment over the course of a year, and that's about 1.5 million in the first year, increasing to $3 million in the subsequent years. And then we want to make sure that we fund your capital improvement program. So we look at your 5-year capital improvement program and take 1/5 of it so that we can fund the current year's capital improvement program. And that's what makes up this minimum cash reserve recommendation. So if you want to go to the next slide. The target operating income, this is the ideal target. And we're not meeting this target in any of the next 5 years, but over time, we want to move toward this target. And what this represents is when you put assets in service, every year the assets depreciate. There's wear and tear that occurs on the assets. And if we charged depreciation expense over the life of the asset, at the end of that asset's life, we would have recovered the initial investment in the asset. But when we go to replace it, it's going to cost more than that to replace, because every year the replacement cost of that asset increases. So this target operating income, in your case, it's about $2.8 million. That represents the inflationary increase in the replacement cost of your infrastructure, which is $124 million. And that, like I said, is the ideal target that we're trying to work the utility toward over time. Now, your rate of return calculated out at about 3.1%, which is just slightly more than inflation. But if you were like an investor-owned utility, that target operating income would probably be in the neighborhood of 9 to 11%. But being that you're a municipally owned water system, we're able to set that rate of return at its break-even point, which is 3.1. So if you want to go to the next slide. This is the cost of service results for the water department. And I first want to focus you on the bottom of the table. It says 22.8. And that is the rate increase that would be needed to fully fund the debt service and the replacement cost of assets. Now, we're not proposing that, but we're phasing that in over several years. Now, if you look at certain size meters, like a 5/8 inch meter, that's most of your residential customers are 5/8 inch. they show an 11% increase. So they're less than the average increase. And you're going to see that the 5/8" meters are not going to be going up or increasing as much as some of the other customers. Now, if you look, at the different meter sizes, you see some significant variations. And in the cost of service study, like for an 1.5" meter, we're going to move toward that rate adjustment over time, at least that's our plan, to move in that direction slowly to minimize impacts on customers. The retail consumption, which is down in the middle of the table, you see the 166 million. The 166 million is the number of cubic feet of water. And that's how your customers are billed. It's on cubic feet. And 1 cubic foot represents about 7.5 gallons of water. Just so you know what that number represents, it's about 1.2 billion gallons of water sold in a year. Now that shows an 18% increase, so slightly less than the average, and you're going to see that also at play when we do the rate design. And then the sprinkling system, the fire sprinklers, you can see there's substantial adjustments that are needed in that area. So if you want to go to the next slide, Noemi. If you can go to the next slide. There. Is the slides moving or is my screen froze? Noemi, are you there?
Yeah, I believe it's your screen that might have froze. Do you want me to go back? I have water cost of service results up.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that? I'll pull it up on mine so I can kind of talk through it.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. You are on slide number 8, I believe. Is that correct?
Oops. Sorry.
Correct.
Slide 8.
Yeah, okay. Slide number 8 is the cost of service results for the water meters compared to the current charge. So if you look at a 5/8" meter, you're currently charging $16.96 a month. The cost of service study says it should be $18.84. So that represents the 11% increase I mentioned earlier. And you can see that some of these meter sizes show the need for larger adjustments. And we're trying to move in the direction in the cost of service study. So Noemi, if you want to go to the next slide. This is when we went to design the rates, we wanted to show how we're moving some of these classes over the 3-year period toward cost of service. So like the 5/8" meter, even though we're proposing a 4% adjustment, the 5/8" meter, just the meter charge itself, we're looking at about a 3.1% increase the first year, 3.4% the second, and 4.3% the third year. Now, just so you're aware what that meter charge represents is when a customer has a meter installed, the utility had to install the meter, and then they have to repair it and replace it. They have to read it every month. They have to build the meter. They also have the cost of a certain amount of the distribution mains that are out in the road that also go into that meter charge, because the size of the meter drives the potential demand that a customer can create. So part of that goes into the meter charge also. And that's what that meter charge represents. And so when you look at most of these meter charges, like a 2-inch meter, that one moving toward cost of service, we gave them the higher end of the increase, which is a 6% increase on that meter charge. And the one that impacts customers the most is the retail consumption line in the middle of the table. That's the commodity rate. And that we're proposing a 3.86% adjustment year one, 3.87% year two, and 3.89% in year three. Now, I know these are all percentages and it's hard to really relate to them. So the following slides puts it into actual dollar amounts. So if you go to slide number 10, up on top in this table is the proposed rates. The meter charge, a 5/8" meter, $16.96. We're proposing increasing that to $17.50. That's a 54-cent per month increase. You can see all the meter sizes we're adjusting upward. The 2-inch meter, which is the largest adjustment in the meter size, is going from $55.18 to $58.50. That's $3.32 increase per month. Now, down near the center part is the actual consumption rate. Now, the way your consumption rate works, it's called a blocked rate. And the first 10,000 cubic feet, which is about 75,000 gallons, that represents, you charge 4.57 cents per cubic foot. We're proposing a slight increase to that to 4.686, which is a 2.4% adjustment. And then the excess charge above that, you're currently charging 3.32 cents, and we're proposing a 5% adjustment to 3.48. Now, the impact on an average residential user is about 98 cents a month, and that's identified on the bottom line on this chart. And that represents about a 2.8% adjustment. Residential customers are getting less than the average change. In the 3 years, each year is about $1 per month increase. So if you go to slide number 11, down at the bottom, the average residential impact is $1.05 in the second year, and that's a 2.9% adjustment. In the third year, slide number 12, it's $1.20 increase, and that represents a 3.2% rate change. So, is there any questions at all about what I've done presentation? Is there any questions at all?
I guess you did a good job, Mark.
Okay, is that it? Mark, is there anything else you want to put out?
No, that's all I have for tonight.
Okay. Director, is there anything else you want to say before I read the receipt of public comments?
No, I know that Tina has a comment after you read one of them, but I have no more to add.
Okay. So the way I want to do this is I'll read the public comments. I'll acknowledge correspondence for the record. I'll read the submitted public comments, and then I'll let staff comment or commission comment. So we've received two pieces of correspondence. The first one is from Sam Spano, 300 Thames Street in Groton, Connecticut. A water rate increase is of significant importance. Any water rate increases should be postponed until such time that a public hearing can be held when taxpayers can actually attend in person to voice their comments and concerns. It should be noted that any water rate increase are of significant concern since they will effectively be doubled by the recent sewer fees, which are based on water usage. And the next comment is from, correspondence rather, is from Tim Rogers, 600 Shinnecossett Road. Said, hello, will this have any impact on the sewer rate, or will there be a separate rate schedule increase for sewer? And that concludes the correspondence that I have, unless there was additional correspondence received by your office.
This is Tina Daniels.
Hey, Tina.
I had spoke with Sam's this afternoon, and his comment in regards to the sewer usage, he was either confused or under the understanding that the sewer charges was based on the water rate dollars and not the actual water usage. So we had a conversation and he cleared up understanding that the water rate increase has nothing to do with the sewer rate. It's actually their water usage and not the water rate itself.
That's correct. And to answer Mr. Rogers' comments, this will not have any impact on the sewer rate, and the sewer rate is not scheduled to be reviewed until later. I don't remember when we're going to review it, but that's not up for review right now. Okay, are there any other comments on the proposed water rate schedule?
Nope.
If not, then I will adjourn I will adjourn the public hearing. It is now 6:58 and the public hearing is adjourned. All right.
Uh-oh.
All right, is Commissioner Zuliani here? I don't see you. Rob, is that you that have called in as a guest?
Mayor, it doesn't look like he's joined yet.
Mayor, this is probably Bruce Kashevsky that you're seeing called in.
Hey, Rob, are you gonna sign in to the Utility Commission meeting? Okay, sorry. All right, thanks. Bye. Commissioner Zuliani is signing on. I am still waiting on Commissioner Giuliani in order to have a quorum. Oh, wait, no, we have a quorum now. Right, Paul, all we need is 3, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
3 out of 5, okay, we have a quorum. Then I will wait no longer. This is the Groton Utilities Commission Water Pollution Control Authority special meeting for June 15, 2020 at 7 p.m. Pursuant to State of Connecticut Executive Order Number 7 Bravo or 7B, Protection of Public Health and Safety during COVID-19 Pandemic and Response, further suspension or modification of statutes dated March 14, 2020, suspending in-person open meeting requirements. All public meetings be closed to the public at this time. Public meetings will be televised in real time on Groton Municipal Television, Channel 2, and online. So I will call the meeting to order. We have Commissioner Scully, Commissioner Duarte, and Chairman Hedrick, so we have a quorum. So the second item on the agenda is consideration of an action on proposed water rate schedule. So I will take a motion to either approve or not approve the proposed water rate schedule that was just presented to us in the public hearing.
Motion to approve. Duarte.
Okay, we have a motion.
Councilor Stanford second.
Say again.
Councilor Stanford second the motion.
Well, Councilor Sanford, hold on, you can't.
Second.
Commissioner Scully.
Second.
Okay,
Sorry,
Commissioner
I was
Scully
muted.
is seconded. So we have a motion and a second to accept the rate change that was proposed in the public hearing. Is there any discussion, any further discussion from the commissioners?
I have none.
I have none.
Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Okay, so the proposed changes to the water rate schedule has been approved and will go into effect in October. And with that, I'll need a motion to adjourn.
So
Motion to
moved.
adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. We have a motion and a second. We are adjourned. It is 7:09. Thank you very much. And the next meeting we have is a council meeting at 7:30. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, staff.
Night, Keith.
Good night, everyone.